Well, hello, everybody. Elizabeth Morosco here. I hope you are having an amazing day. It has been quite the past year and a half, hasn't it? And I think through this time, we have all learned how anxiety and stress can become a big part of our life. And we've witnessed, unfortunately, some people that have maybe made some bad turns along the way, and their anxiety, depression spiraled into things even worse like addiction, suicide, and so much more. So, today we have a very special guest with us who is going to share some tips on getting on track so that we can sort of seize not just the day, but also seize our happiness in life again. So, Tara Moreno from Serenity House of Flint is here, and I am so grateful you fit us into your day. Welcome, Tara.
Thank you, Liz, for having me on. I really, really, really appreciate what you do for our community.
And I appreciate what you're doing every day, too. Yeah, little warrior out there.
I try, right?
So, as I was saying, this past year and a half has been, a tipping point of stress and anxiety for so many people. And I know through your own personal journey, you experienced some of those dark roads. And as a result, you started this amazing, multiple amazing projects. And I was hoping that you could maybe share with viewers a little bit about what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it and all of those good things that you're creating in our community.
Yeah. So I really believe in people and I really love people. And I know instinctively from the path that I've walked with my own anxiety and my own depression issues that if we are in the right environment, we can heal. I believe in the innate power of the human being to self correct. And I believe on a grand scale right now, that's kind of what's happening. Our world has been out of balance for a very long time. And we are going through a process of purging these old ways, these old ideas, these old notions that have kept us in a cycle where things like the opioid crisis happen, where our suicide rate is through the roof now with the COVID pandemic that we all faced last year, are still facing. So, what I try to do is I try to get people to understand that we are created in a way that our bodies are naturally wanting to heal. Like we are created in a way we're not faulty, right? It's the systems that we have been born into that are faulty. The things that have been created and they're archaic, right? Greed, control, power, right? All of these things that aren't of, the heart, right? And we're in a place right now where those systems are beginning to fall. And uh, and I know that a lot of people are very, very afraid right now at the systems and what's happening right now. But I want everyone to keep in mind that if our systems were so healthy, why do we have an opioid crisis, like I said, or why is the suicide rate through the roof, right? So that's an indicator that something is very off, right? Um, so to be able to heal this, what I suggest to people is one really is to get a meditation practice in place. And I know and I have heard, I've been teaching meditation for a long time. And, people say, the narratives like, I can't meditate, like, I don't know how to meditate, or, I have ADHD, so I really, really can't meditate. So these are like it's your your pain that's keeping you from feeling well, right? If we can get into a meditation practice and push through that resistance, what happens when we get into that meditative state, even if it is just for 5 to 10 minutes a day, the body will relax where it will begin the point of self correction. So, doctors know that when the body relaxes, it heals. When we sleep, the body heals. So we need to have more relaxation, more stress reduction in our day, not just when we go to sleep, right? So meditation is the number one thing that I suggest. Two is food is medicine, and your food intake matters. And everyone is unique. So these fad diets that come out, or these things that people jump on the bandwagon, um, great. But really, when you're meditating, getting in touch with your internal guidance system, your intuition that leads you to into a place where you're eating the foods that are good for you. Some people can go vegetarian. Some people can go vegan for a period of time. Some people can't, right? And it's all based on your own body makeup, your own DNA, your blood type, all these different factors that go into who you are. And keeping that in mind. And when we are eating foods, one of the most important things is, what are you thinking when you're eating?
I actually heard that quite a while ago from, similar to you, I kind of have a passion for philosophy and better understanding, but there was a Indian guru who was talking about whenever you eat, put your emotions in check because you quite literally are consuming the emotion that you have. And I've had this conversation with my two sons multiple times where there might be something that is unsettling or sad or frustrating that happens in life because it's life. And then that topic starts to come up while eating. And I literally tell them, you need to like cleanse out your mind and your palate before you start digesting that food. Let's switch the narrative that's running in our head because you're just going to get ulcers and all that good stuff. So we try to be very proactive about that. Something that you said on that first option of having some time and recouping. I've been thinking about this recently. I saw this meme that just popped up on Facebook, and it said something like, if you could go back to the 70s without the technology or anything, would you? And, I was born in the 70s, so I started reminiscing. But this is one of the key things that was a little bit different. We now live in this society where it's stimulus 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. There's not a downtime. There's not a time of like reconnecting with family or ourself or even our creator. It's this constant like technology on your computer, on your phone, on the go, and it's exciting and it's engaging. But I think that it also can be an energy warp where it literally can suck the energy right out of you. And this is the thing, even with we were very fortunate during COVID. A lot of places of worship were able to get online and stream it online, which is great, especially for people that can't normally get out. But the thing is when we're constantly engaging, I think, in this digital space, and it's not the real essence of human to human, not like we're human to human, but there's a digital interface. You know what I mean? It's not the same. And I think that we're missing that. And I think that it's having an impact on our overall wellness, mentally, physically, and spiritually, because I believe that there's a disconnect between humans. And we see this sometimes with some of the comments that people will leave on Facebook that are, and especially with the political climate of things that are going on, but some of the things that people will say to people, not in a debate way, but in a hateful, spiteful way. But I believe that if we were face to face, human to human, that person more than likely wouldn't say that unless they're unhinged, you know.
Mhm.
And I think that we're living the ramifications for that. So I hope that some people start to take that minute to disconnect, you know, meditate, pray, just disconnect from electricity, you know, for a minute and become grounded.
Yes, grounded. That's the next thing, right? Is that
Oh,
meditate.
perfect
Yes.
leadway.
So,
And I didn't know.
yes. Yes. So, meditation, your food, and how you're eating and what you're thinking, and then grounding. And grounding is a specific way of pulling your energy or your life force down to the earth.
Mhm.
You know, when you use those electronics, right? So you're more in the mental body and the mental chatter, right? And it's like when you're in the mental body, it's like we need to connect the mind body connection.
Mm.
And that grounding principle is connecting the mind to the body, right? And that can happen in a variety of ways. You can use a specific grounding technique through the breath to pull your energy back into the body. You can take your shoes off and walk on the ground. You know, I know we're getting into fall, but it's still, we might get a couple warm days just kicking those shoes off and getting on the grass or the sand. And then things like grounding mats. So I'm using a grounding mat. I use it sparingly. I use it when, you know, at night when I'm ready to unwind. They
Mhm.
have grounding blankets. They actually plug into your grounding port in your electrical system in your house, and
Mm.
each house has a grounding rod that goes deep into the earth.
Oh, okay. I'd
Yeah.
like to know more about that. And actually, for our viewers, I'd love to know from you, have you participated in some of these things? Like, are you meditating daily or doing daily prayer? Are you
Yeah.
doing things like grounding yourself? And, you know, maybe some of the hippies had some of it right, walking out barefoot and half naked at Woodstock. You can leave your clothes on though. But I think that these are things that, you know, we naturally were doing, and then that human factor, you know, we had to come in and slap some plastic or rubber soles on the bottom of our shoes and stop
Yes.
that conductor. But I'm curious about this grounded. Now, I've heard of the weighted blankets. We have a couple of those in my house. What's the difference between the weighted blankets versus the grounding blanket and mat that you're talking about? I'm
So
fascinated. Now I got to
yeah,
know.
so the grounding blanket, it's the weight, right? So you
Okay.
have the physical weight on your body to make
Yeah.
you feel that sensation of feeling grounded.
Yeah.
The grounding mat actually plugs into the electrical system of your house and connects to the grounding rod in the ground that your house is connected to.
So, like, do you feel something? Is it a
Yeah.
light blanket? Is there weight? Do you feel like electric pulse? What do you feel?
It's a mat. So I have a mat and there's a blanket, but I don't have the blanket. I just have a mat. I'm very, very sensitive to to everything, right? That's how I'm able to
You're
commune
an
with the
empath.
spiritual world.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
So,
You got
so
to
like
kind
I,
of block that too with everything going on.
yeah, because I'll
Yeah.
detox. I'll
Mm-hmm.
like because we are carrying a lot as humans. We're carrying a lot of like intergenerational trauma. You know these the phones, right? The EMS from the in the air from Wi-Fi and
Mm-hmm.
5G and stuff like that. So it makes me feel really, really present in the body. So and it can make me feel more relaxed to go
Mm-hmm.
to sleep easier. My son uses it and he will fall asleep within 5 minutes. And he's
Wow.
usually he's the type of kid like mom, my mind's going, my body's tired. My
Mm-hmm.
mind's going, my body's tired. And so we use a grounding mat.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. And you're teaching him those skills at such a young age. Those are things that later on he can use as a man also. So, have you heard of these rooms, the sensory deprivation rooms? Have you heard about this?
So I like float tanks.
Nope, not float tanks. It's actually it's rooms that they it's very uncomfortable. I've been told, but it's rooms where they eliminate all sound. So there's no sound, there's no sense of whatever. You can make it like a couple of minutes, and you literally want to, you can't take it. Like your mind can't take it because our bodies are, all these senses going off around our body, and then if everything is just shut off, it's sort of this surreal whatever. Go Google it. It's
I
pretty
will.
interesting. But when I worked at Ford Motor Company, I worked in advanced electronics, and the building that I was in was actually the prototype building, electronics technical center. Anyhow, they had these huge rooms that you would walk into that were like maybe 40 by 40, and they would drive a vehicle into the room, and they would do all of these different tests of like sound frequency, cold, wind, all sorts of different things. But when I was working with a lot of these software engineers that were focused on the electronics, and then seeing what they would do in different environments. It was my first time that I became hyper aware of noise pollution. That's what we'll call it, noise pollution, that I wasn't even aware of. And you were talking about, what did you call it? The EMS or
Yeah, the EMFs, the
E-
electromagnetic frequencies.
yeah, yeah. So, like, here we are. We have all this stuff going around us, plus bad news happening all the time. We've got to find ways to be proactive in purging out the negativity and becoming connected with the goodness again. And you're actually doing a couple of really cool things to make people do that. And you're giving
I
some
am.
big incentives, including in February. You're like, I'm going big or I'm going home. Tell us about this upcoming program that you have in February.
Yeah, so we have a retreat in Costa Rica, in Manuel Antonio, Costa Rica, and it is February 19th through the 27th. It's a 9-day heart centered immersive retreat centered around getting in connection with the earth's heartbeat, with your inner child, and to be able to learn practical tools to take home to alleviate stress and anxiety naturally. And plus, you get to hang out with some really cool people. So, some of my really, really good friends are going. So, and they are the most down to earth, most real women that I've had the pleasure to be in the company of.
That's wonderful. And you know what? I think that's another key thing. You and I were talking about that offline. It's important, especially right now, to make sure you're surrounding yourself with good people, people that can help nourish you spiritually, intellectually, and people that can understand your version of your journey, because we're not all on the same, we're all on planet Earth, but we're not all on the same journey. And it's important to make sure that you have people that have some of those values that can understand it, because you can easily become misunderstood. In fact, I found this one picture of you and part of your crew. This was in front of Flint, or City of Flint, their offices downtown. But I love this where you're saying, there's still hope and end the stigma. And part of it, I think, comes when we surround ourselves with other people that can get that. So tell me a little bit about this day.
Yeah, so, I am in recovery. I've been on a healing path for over a decade now. So, the Serenity House of Flint is the nonprofit that I founded and I manage still. And we are having our 7th annual Flint Recovery Walkin Rally on Saturday from 10 to 2. And there is a lot of hope, a hope in life.
Yay!
Yeah,
7 years, girl. Yay!
yeah, yes, and we would think so. It's centered around remembrance from the people we've lost to overdoses and to addiction. And it sounds really bleak, and there is a sadness to that. But there's also a lot of healing that comes from these things that we experience. If we have a firm spiritual foundation, we understand that this is just one tiny sliver, this life of a huge, we can't even
Mhm.
fathom the intensity and the bigness of our souls, let alone all of our souls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the kind of energy that comes through this event, right? So we focus on the recovery, we focus on that, the darkness is a portal into something greater, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what's happening right now in a worldwide level.
And I think that right there is something that is so key, Tara. Um, Being willing to come out after you've stepped into darkness, whether it's, everybody has a different story of what that darkness looks like, different things, different experiences. But so often we pit ourselves into the situation where we don't speak our truth because we just get through it. And then unfortunately, others don't benefit from the wisdom that you gain through that journey. And I think having a brave heart and a willingness to come out and share, that's how we can help other people. That's how we can make the change where we don't retreat back into either shame. That happens a lot. People are ashamed of whatever, or they're just wore out. But if we can just push out that one next breath, it can be that breath that helps somebody else make that transition for recovery or the next step. And actually, hey, you know what? I almost forgot. You have a big event coming up, like even sooner than February, with this recovery walk. It's
Yeah,
like
yep.
right around the corner. What is this about?
Yeah. So on Saturday, we'll be having Judge Jessica Hammond. She runs our sobriety court in Flint. She'll be there speaking.
Uh
We'll
huh.
have, it's all around the family, it's all around healing the family. So I know that healing the family, we acquire a lot of intergenerational habits, a lot of intergenerational trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Every family, right? The way we were raised, right? We
Mm-hmm.
have something that we've learned from our parents that does not is not conducive for a healthy relationship with our spouses or our children. I mean, it's just the way the world is, right? So, but when we gather together as families, right? And we talk about like the hardships, that's when we can heal, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we have tons of things going on. We've got a bounce house for the kids, we've got concessions, snow cones, cotton candy, free t-shirts. We'll have a 1.6 mile walk through downtown Flint. Um, we'll be doing all different, lots of really cool people. Like the people that are going to be here are amazing, and they're all working on themselves in some way.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And something that's really cool is you actually have a judge involved in that. What has been in the past, like two different worlds, that is so powerful when you have somebody that's coming down from the bench and saying, I want to connect with these people and understand, because it's not about punishing, it's about rehabilitating, giving opportunity, creating something that's better than what's theirs. So that is an awesome blessing. So I'm really glad to hear that we have people involved in our courts that are doing that, because that's how you can give somebody a second chance. People are going to make different mistakes in life, and why not give them
Yeah,
an opportunity to heal and make it right?
yeah,
That's
and
cool.
Jessica's a yoga instructor too.
Oh, is she really? Oh my gosh, that's great. That's great. I've seen her marry a couple of people online, but
Yeah.
so she's not the jack of all trades, the judge of all trades.
That's a good one. Yes. Yeah. So we're really excited to have her on Saturday.
That's great. That's
Yeah,
great.
she's a good supporter. So
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're getting some support and getting all that good stuff happening. So, if people wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
So what you're looking for. So I have the for profit, which is Green Tarot Holistic Healing, and that
Mhm.
is the Costa Rica trip. That those are the trainings that we do, the Reiki trainings, the emotional freedom technique trainings, and you can find us at www.greenterraholistic.com. And Tara is spelled like my name, Tara. And then we have the Serenity House of Flint, which is the nonprofit that I run. And that website address is www.flintcc.org. serenityhouse.org. And you can find about all of our events, what we're doing, what we've done, and how to donate, and all those really, really good things.
And you're on Facebook too, obviously.
Oh, yes, we've got it. We've got it. Yep. Follow us on Facebook. We put out a lot of good, hopeful content. And then, on both pages, Green Tarot Holistic Healing and the Serenity House of Flint.
So, real quick before we wrap up, and this is a big question as we wrap up, if somebody is facing this dark road, anxiety, depression, feeling overwhelmed with the news, feeling overwhelmed with what's happening in society, and they step into this pray, meditate, watch what you're eating, and do some grounding. Those are things that they can do on their own. But what are things that they can do? Because this goes back to that human factor that we were talking about. Like, what are some suggestions you have for viewers to be able to connect with other humans? Like, do you have in person things?
Yeah.
What suggestions do you have?
Yeah, human touch. We just don't get enough human touch. And it's something that we need for survival.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we do offer at Serenity House of Flint a no cost recovery Reiki healing group where you can sit and you can talk about all your crap and not feel judged. And we can release that crap together.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's an hour-long group. You get the same thing every Friday. We have a trusted practitioner who walks us through the healing. That's every Friday, 720 Ann Arbor Street, downtown Flint, from 6 to 7. And then that Walkin Rally, right, coming out and
6 to
gathering
7 p.m. or a.m.?
PM.
p.m. Okay. Just want to double check because you never know.
Yeah. And then that Walkin Rally is a huge piece too, right? We'll have masks and sanitizers if you need a mask and sanitizer. Um, really, mitigating the fear, because sometimes fear is way more powerful. The thought of fear is way more powerful than the actual danger itself. I'm really keeping that in mind. Um, and then, gathering, for those of you who can't afford, Costa Rica and want to take a leap of faith, right? And you want to make a new decision, a bold and new decision, and you can't get out of this pattern. You're in a toxic relationship, you're in a toxic job, you're in this, right? So when you make that decision to disrupt the pattern, that's when you can change your life permanently. It's not just you're going to go and lay in the sun and then all of a sudden you'll feel better, but this trip is designed to change your life forever,
Love it.
right?
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm grateful that you and your husband, he's also going to be involved in the trip to Costa Rica, right?
Yes, he is my yes. So he we're in a conscious marriage, it's called. So we use
I
our
love it.
marriage, all right. So we use our marriage to heal. So we look at our triggers inside of the marriage. We look at the way we were raised, and the belief systems that were installed in us that don't serve us,
Hmm.
and we heal through that marriage. And he's
So
an
it takes a lot
incredible,
of work. It takes
yeah,
work to get where
yeah,
you're at.
a lot of
Right,
work. It
right.
took a lot. It took,
And I
but
think it's important for people to know that because so often we get into that, just the good vibes. And I saw you posted something recently where you scratched out good vibes and what did it say? Positive truths or something like that. What did I forget?
real
Yeah,
human emotions,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So the human emotions are, we shame ourselves when we feel like, when we're crying or when we feel anger, and it's just an expression, and it's our attachment to the idea of what that means that makes it toxic, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So anger is really good emotion. Like, if we like, anger drives us to make change. We get angry, we want to start a new group, or we want to do this because we can do it better, or all these like things, right? So anger is good. Sadness is good. We know sadness, right? And we know, we have a comparison between sadness and joy, happiness. If we are feeling negative emotion, though, all the time, that means that we're out of alignment, and it means that we need to make a new decision,
Hmm.
right? So if you're crying every day, you're in a situation that is out of alignment with your soul.
That's right. 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 And I think that's the key is not to ignore the stuff that you have going on that's serious, that may be uncomfortable, but also becoming mindful that when it's long term, that it could be something that's not in alignment of your life. But at that point, you may also need to seek help from a professional. And there are things like clinical depression where you need to take steps above and beyond maybe a holistic approach. But I think that one of the things that we're doing is we're slapping on this toxic band aid. And I was guilty of it for a long time too, until I started having my own awakenings of truth. Is you can't just throw on the good vibes only BS band aid. There's times in life where really difficult things are going to happen, and you can't throw on a cheerleader face and say it's all good. You got to deal with it. And that's why I kind of wanted to point that out. I mean, here you are, you're married, and all these things are happening, but you're talking about things that you guys are doing together to create this healing and to create it. It's not happening by osmosis. It's not just like, oh, it
No.
happened. You have to put the work in to get to that good vibe feeling where it's authentic.
Yeah, and I was clinically depressed too, right? So I was heavily medicated for
Oh, wow.
years, right? So, and I have not been medicated for, over a decade now. When I started
Wow.
recovery, so there are ways. It's just that Western medicine isn't privy to the ways that we need to heal mental illness. And it is, from my own experience, it's healable. I healed it. My husband was also heavily medicated. He's been, unmedicated, has not needed medication for a while now. He's
Mm-hmm.
also in recovery. And a lot of people I work with have also been diagnosed and are thriving without medications. So there
That's
is a
great.
pathway for that. And I tread
Mm-hmm.
lightly with that. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
do. But I want people to understand that this is my story and this is what I've walked. And I've had people come out and say, like, specifically NAMI, they're like, you should not be talking about that because, and I'm like, but it's my story. It's what
It
happened.
is your story, and the
I've been
problem
able to
is
walk out.
that's right. Sorry to interrupt you, Tara. The
Yeah,
problem
no,
is
go ahead. Yeah.
when people try to make topics like this taboo, and then we can never get to the point of truth. And that's really, in my opinion, manipulation. We all want to say there's one path for all of us. There's not. There's not. But understanding and having a general idea of where you're going and how to get there, and not getting, I'll call it, washed out with groupthink or loud noise of everybody saying this is the way you have to do it. No, there may be alternative ways, but taking a practical approach and being safe about it, because suicide's real. In fact, September is National Suicide Month. But the thing, this is it right here that I want to sum up. When we create taboo environments where people can't speak truth and speak through healing, we will never experience healing. We're isolating people and saying, shut up, say that it's good, and it's good, even if it's not. And that's a death sentence,
Amen,
unfortunately.
sister. Amen.
Yeah, so, but I'm grateful that you're stepping out there and speaking truth. So keep doing your thing. But I'd love it if you have time and can come back another time. Maybe we can take a look of what's going on with Serenity House and the Green Terra. Maybe follow a little bit long, with your Costa Rica plans, and maybe you can inspire other people to set up and attend or do their own little thing at home too.
Yep, for sure. I'm here to help.
All right, rock and roll.
Yeah.
So, anything else that you want to share with everybody tonight?
No, I just want to well, yeah, to say thank you to taking the time and listening to this podcast with Liz and I. It's really during these times, especially that that we gather, right? Whether it is in person or on the internet. And Liz has created this really amazing platform to put out this kind of information, And thank you, Liz, for
Thanks.
having me again.
Oh, I'm so
Mhm.
grateful that you squeezed us in. I am. And our whole goal here is to help people get on track with authentic, true, healthy, happy living. And doing it in your way with a couple of resources can make a big difference. So, well, for all of you that tuned in today, we truly appreciate you. Make sure that you are following us on Facebook. That's our main platform in Jam. We love it over there. You can find us at facebook.com/kudos magazine. And we will be catching up with you again real soon. In the meantime, have an absolutely amazing day.